Hi, I'm Anne Marie with the Oregon Farm Bureau, and welcome to this episode of Fred Talks.
Hi, my name is Brenda Frketich, and I'm a third generation farmer out here in St. Paul, Oregon, which is located in Marion County. I'm also a Marion County Farm Bureau member, and we grow about 8 to 12 different crops out here. I farm alongside my husband and our 3 small children. One of our main crops that we grow here is perennial ryegrass for seed. So this is a perennial ryegrass field. I'm actually out here right now using my sprayer as a tripod. So this is this is what I'm driving today, and I'm actually out spraying fungicide. So when you grow something for seed, there's a lot of things that can come and attack it, a lot of pests, and one of those is a fungus that we have out here that's rust, and it'll literally turn your fields bright red. It's crazy. And so I'm applying a fungicide that basically will protect this crop all the way through for the next 5 weeks, which will take us pretty much to harvest.
Tell us a little bit about your high-tech sprayer there.
Yeah, so we spray using GPS. So I essentially set up the field by steering myself, and then I press a button and it continues to spray the field on the path that I've given it. So it's incredibly accurate, which is great. If you imagine a football field, I'm taking 20 gallons of water, spreading that over the entire field, and mixed in with that is 18 ounces of the fungicide over that entire 1 acre. So it's a really accurate application, which is great. And we're able to really just be efficient, do more with less is kind of what I like to say. And the technology in agriculture right now is astounding. You're able to do so much, especially with this GPS technology that we have.
Tell us the process of how it's harvested and what you're going to do next.
Once it pollinates, and you've got about 30 days before you're going to harvest it, which essentially is when your grass is going to become mature. It's going to start to sort of look brown and dead, essentially. And we're going to come in and swap it, which is where you cut it into rows. And then we'll let that cure for about 7 to 10 days, reduce the moisture that's actually in the seed and in the crop. And then we're going to come out after that, the combine. It separates the straw from the seed. The seed is what we'll keep. The straw is actually baled off and is a completely different product, but the seed itself goes and gets cleaned. Perennial ryegrass is used often in golf courses, your home lawn, sports fields, turf fields, a lot of environmental projects like, if you have a flood, they'll use it to try to create less erosion in areas. They'll try to use it to clean up ground if there's a situation where you have a lot of salt or you have a chemical spill or something of that nature. So it really has a wide range of uses. We also grow about 8 to 12 different crops. So during one harvest, we're often irrigating, weeding, spraying, taking care of the other crops that are also growing and getting ready for harvest.
So that's interesting. You have all these other crops, so you have to be really organized about when you do what with the planting and the harvest, because it can't all happen at once, obviously.
It's definitely a moving target of things that are going on. We have a mix of crops that stay in the ground year after year. We grow hazelnuts, and so obviously that's a perennial crop that we're not moving around every year. Our perennial ryegrass and our tall fescue stay in the ground anywhere from 2 to 7, sometimes even up to 10 years. So that crop is one that you're not working the ground every year. You're just coming in and protecting the stand that's already there, that's come up from the year before, and raising that crop from that point forward. But then we also have grounds like we've planted radish this spring. We planted green beans this spring, which will also be harvested this summer. And then we also plant some crops in the fall that will be harvested this summer, like Swiss chard for seed was planted this fall. And it's like almost 8 feet tall right now. It's crazy.
So how has the pandemic impacted the farm?
From the very beginning, my husband and I just sort of sat down and we just sort of lined out, what can we control? What are the things that we can do to help with the uncertainty, right? So it was calling all of our suppliers, making sure that we had, these avenues to be able to mitigate what we could. And luckily, we've been really lucky. The companies that we work with have really looked forward and they've gotten product for us. We just tried to keep doing what we were doing because the crops don't understand that there's a pandemic going on. So we just tried to we need to grow the best crop that we can, like we try to do every year. We have to take care of the soil, the land. For farming, especially in Oregon, we're kind of like in that 6 month to 1 year out of really feeling the effects of this, because most of our crops don't have pricing yet. And so that's, I think, where it's going to be just that moving forward, just a lot of questions about where pricing is going to fall. But we luckily are diverse. We have the ability to be diverse on our farm. And so that will definitely help. That's always helped, not all your eggs in one basket. We're fortunate that we're able to do that here.
So tell us about your experience sharing the story of agriculture. You've been very proactive with that, Brenda.
So I actually didn't take kind of a traditional path of where a lot of farmers did to get to where I'm at today. Went off to college. I went to Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. So kind of a different path, not much farming there at all. And when I got about to my third year, that's when I really started to see kind of what opportunities were here. I was working on a business degree at the time. And so after I finished school and wanted to return to the farm, I realized that there was a real opportunity to not just be a farmer out in a field, but also be someone who could advocate for an industry. And I think part of that was going to LA and seeing the difference, like people who had never mowed their own lawn before, folks never met a farmer, never been on a farm. And growing up in a farming community, I knew those people existed, right? Like city people, but just living with them and living that lifestyle and that complete change was really eye-opening to me. I do feel like this pull to be someone who can sort of bridge that gap or sort of be a voice or be that connection to the land, to farms. I started my blog back in, I think 2011. So my blog's nuttygrass.com, and I talk about all sorts of things, but I also do a lot of advocacy as far as on the political side as well. Farm Bureau, I'm a Marion County Farm Bureau member and have been since I returned to the farm. That really stepped me in a direction of being able to speak up to the legislature. We're lucky that we live close, so I can come and testify often and get involved in those issues, because I think that it's so important that people understand that, we're such a small piece of the population, but what we do here is so important to everyone. Everyone needs farmers, everyone needs the land to produce and to be healthy. And so taking on that role, we have just a really important story to tell.
What is it that you love about working in agriculture?
I always tell people that the farming industry itself is so advanced. Like, you think of farming so often as like kind of a hayseed guy, in overalls, and, he's got a piece of wheat sticking out of his mouth and an old tractor. But really, we're using technology that's super advanced. Our irrigation systems drive themselves and they tell us where they're at in the field. And our tractors are all GPS driven. And so all of this, but then yet it's all combined with like this blood, sweat, and tears of generations before us, and this land that's been taken care of, since my great grandpa. And so I think that's my favorite part, is just this mix of legacy and of history and passion. And yet it's just the most advanced industry also in the world. And so you have this amazing thing that somehow works together, right? Like we can use anvils from my great grandpa in the same farm that I'm fixing our GPS driven tractor. I grew up out here in these fields. And so I'm so grateful that I can raise my kids out here. I think that it's a great life. It's a great lifestyle. And they just learn so much just walking around with us all the time.